Canadian tourist here, stuck in the Philippines. So, came here for vacation. Not sure I really can call it a vacation at this point anymore, but that was the plan initially. You might ask yourself, why did you travel during this pandemic? And of course, hindsight's everything. But when I planned this trip, um, there were only 4 cases in the Philippines, and Western media was really downplaying the severity of this as it was greatly underestimated. And the reason I came to the Philippines is I've just recently recovered from battling cancer. I have myeloma, which is a blood cancer. It's incurable. Went through stem cell transplants and lots of chemotherapy. And one of the things my hematologist told me was when I feel better, which I didn't for a while, when I do feel better, to make those trips that I've always been planning because honestly, how much longer I have to live or even have the ability to travel due to health is probably greatly limited. So, Southeast Asia has always been on my bucket list, and it's one of those places I've always wanted to visit. So I thought I'd come to the Philippines, and also to look to see, is it a place to possibly retire, or is there a healthcare system that could support me, which probably not. But most important, I wanted to see the area and visit the people and the beautiful places, especially Palawan, which I heard was very beautiful. So that was one of the islands I really wanted to come to. So when I came to Manila, I noticed it was already a little different. People were taken way more seriously here. Anytime you entered a mall or hotel, people were um, their temperatures were taken, and it seemed to be a lot better in the approach than back in Canada, which seemed to totally ignore that anything was going on at all. So I already noticed a little bit of a difference, and I thought, well, why don't I get out of Manila and go to Palawan, where I've always wanted to go? And it was that night before the flight that Duarte, the president here, announced the lockdown. And I thought, well, getting out of Manila would be a good thing. That way I could be in Palawan and I can get to Cebu and get to that international airport and get back home. Though things change. When I got to Palawan, as soon as I arrived, one of the things I was told was the airport was closing down. Very little notice. In hindsight, again, hindsight's everything. Uh, should have stayed in Manila. Could have got a flight back home. So at that point, I decided to go to the resort, which went to the resort here in Palawan, Panja Resort. Great resort. Highly recommend it if you come and visit. Very great people, great staff. Even during the course of when this lockdown came through, I even met the owners of the resort. They're very accommodating, helpful. It's been amazing. So people have been great. The only thing I have issue with is those in charge. They seem to handle things a little differently. So I would go to the airport and there would really be no information about flights. I book flights online, they would get canceled, and then I would be told that I'm not going to get a refund for 30 days. I actually booked on Cebu Pacific. I booked a flight on Asia Air. Both of those got canceled. I can't, and at a certain point you got to think, I can't keep booking flights, charging up my credit card, and getting them canceled without any guarantee that those flights are going to go through. So I'd go to the airport, and initially there wasn't a lot of information. I remember at one point going to the airport, and there was seemingly no flights out. And then I get to the airport, and they tell me, "Oh yeah, there's a flight leaving out in 30 minutes." Well, gee, didn't bring my passport, and getting back to the resort and everything wouldn't have enough time to make that flight. Would have been nice to know that that flight was available. Would have definitely been on it. So then I decided the following days to try to come to the airport and check periodically. And that's when they started putting up checkpoints. And getting through the checkpoints started to become problematic because then they would ask, why are you going through? And I remember at one point I told them, well, I'm going through to check on the flights in the airport, and they allowed that for me. I get to the airport and it's all closed off, with signs saying that the airport's in lockdown until April 14th. And so I have no way of knowing how to get out of here. So the next thing I did was to contact the Canadian Embassy in the Philippines. They then referred me to the Department of Transportation in the Philippines, that then referred me to the Department of Tourism in the Philippines. And through the Department of the Tourism in the Philippines, I filled out a form about my contact information and all that, and didn't hear back. In fact, I read in online news a day later, and this was now, I did that on a Monday. Then I found out on Wednesday and Thursday there were flights that went out, sweeper flights for foreigners, and that they took a lot of foreigners out. I got no information about that, even though I filled out these forms, provided my contact, and had contacted several different departments, and nobody reached out to me. So that's really frustrating, because here I'm trying to get a way home. I'm contacting people and they're not getting back to me. In the meantime, trying to secure a place to stay, that was quite a nightmare too, because the government decided to close all the hotels here. So as a foreigner, where do you go? Luckily, I went on Airbnb and I secured a townhouse. I contacted the owner of the Airbnb because I started reserving some places and was told that I wouldn't be allowed in during this lockdown. So I luckily reached out to someone that had a vacation place here in Palawan. It's a great couple from Luzon in Manila. That had a place here in Palawan, and they rented it out to me and gave me a good monthly rate. So I was at least have a place to stay. The other frustrating part is to get anywhere, even to a grocery store, you need a quarantine pass. And they're not really issuing those to foreigners. So luckily, locals here have helped me out and do some grocery shopping for me. And I at least have that going for me. So at least I have a secure place and have food. But again, the real frustrating part is, reaching out to those agencies that are there supposedly to help you and to be ignored. I'd really like to get back to Canada. At this point, I would have loved to seen the sites here in Palawan, and someday maybe I'll be able to if health permits. But at this point, everything is in lockdown. I can't see anything. I'm stuck in a townhouse with little resources to know what my options are. Yeah, because no one's responding back to me. Um, so, it'd be great if anybody could help spread the word, let people know I'm here. Would love to get help to get back home, see my family. My worry is with cancer. I have a lowered immune system, and if I ever did get hospitalized here, my worry would be is, would there be a level of care that could support me? Not to say that I think the hospital system here is bad, but if something becomes stressed here, and they need to take care of people with the COVID virus, and they got some foreigner with cancer, and is older, um, I might be lower on the priority list, which honestly could understand. So it would be nice if I could get back home. And so if you could help spread the word, let people know I'm here, and hopefully find me a flight out, that would be great. Thanks.